I'm Clark Green with the Elite Angler Academy with today's What's in the Bag, where I'm dispelling the myth that pro anglers get everything for free. There's this big misconception that we get free boats and trucks and tackle and gear, and yes, we get a lot of stuff free from sponsors and people give us stuff to prototype and try out, but almost every single pro bass fisherman I know buys a lot of tackle every year, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars of tackle, just like everybody else. You know, yes, they have sponsors, but they don't always get everything they need from their sponsors. And so therefore, they're always looking for a better mousetrap. They're always looking for the next best thing. So we buy a lot of tackle. You know, every tackle store we hit up, tackle warehouse, everything else. So right now it's the night before heading to Lake Murray, South Carolina for the MLF Pro Circuit event. So I've made a bunch of purchases lately and I'm gonna kind of blow through them. I may make this a two-part video because I've actually got a bag from Rambo Outdoors down in Beaumont, Texas. I got a bag from Tackle Addict. I've got a monster box from Tackle Warehouse and it's real heavy. And then I've got a special package right here that came in from a buddy that pours swim baits. That it's one of the baits I throw a lot, and I'm gonna, show it to you. It didn't cost me anything. I did some trade out because I've got stuff he wants, in a shop full of junk, and he makes swim baits that are awesome and with a limited run. I grabbed a bunch before they go on sale. So I'm gonna go highlight all that stuff, but for this first part, I'm gonna go over this Tackle Warehouse box. It's one of those things that I'm getting ready for this MLF Pro event at Lake Murray. It's a blueback herring lake. The spawn is going on right now. So I don't know if it's gonna be a herring spawn, a sight fishing deal, what's gonna happen. And then right after that event is over, I'm actually going to go jackpot the Toyota series at Sam Rayburn. And so I'm getting things ready for that tournament. And the availability of products right now is kind of sketchy. So I'm having to stockpile right now for the remainder of the year, upcoming events, everything else. So when I find things in stock that I'm gonna need coming up, I'm buying things, and I suggest that y'all do too, in case you're needing those Berkeley flatworms or that magic color Fluke, or that big old monster, that you like red bug instead of plum, So right now is the time to stock up on whatever you can find. So again, right here, we're gonna go through this giant box here from Tackle Warehouse. All right, y'all be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and be sure in the comments leave feedback on what you think about some of these products I have. If you've got experience with it, I'm trying some of these things out for the first time. You might think something's so garbage, let me know. Might quickly make my decision on what's good and bad if I know from other people. All right, first thing in the box, you can't go to Tackle Warehouse without another t-shirt. Whether you wear them or not. They make good rags to clean a boat. I get so many of these that I start getting different sizes. This is a 2XL. I'm gonna give it to one of my neighbors. He helps us out when I'm on the road. So everybody needs a t-shirt. Okay, first thing in the top of the box. I'll show it right here, that layer. Boom, you see Strike King crankbaits. Those aren't for Lake Murray. That's for Sam Rayburn. Whenever I guide, I go through a lot of crankbaits, but we're coming into the crankbait season, and I don't throw but a handful of colors. I don't think there's a bad color as long as it's some sort of shad pattern. But to simplify everything for myself, chartreuse and blue is hard to beat. So I've got a whole bunch of 5XDs in chartreuse and blue, a bunch of 6XDs, and a whole lot of 8XDs. And yes, I have tackle boxes full of these, but at the same time, Tackle Addict's been out, Rambo's been short on them, Tackle Warehouse a lot of times doesn't get them in very often. Here locally, Academy doesn't have them. Bass Pro runs out constantly, especially on colors you need. And again, it's not Strike King's fault, it's not the tackle store's fault. COVID's going on, the availability of products. Trust me, tackle stores want to get the stuff in. These companies want to be able to move their products. So I've got a ton of Strike King crankbaits, whether it's 5XDs, 6XDs. Here's one in a color called the Shizzle. So I basically have a bunch of these in the Shizzle and a whole lot of these chartreuse and blue. And for now, I'm gonna put them on my pegboard, or I'm just gonna save them in the box here in a bit for the Toyota series when I stop back at my house, reload, pick up different rods, a couple other tackle boxes I know I don't need for Murray. All right, the next thing in the box, the next layer. Boom, you can see Zoom Super Flukes. And that color right there is white pearl. And if you could only have one rod going to Lake Murray for this event, it would be a white Zoom Super Fluke. And so I've actually, it's a staple color, works everywhere in the country, not just a herring lake. When I go smallmouth fishing at St. Lawrence coming up, it's a bait that I'll probably have on. You can work it fast and aggressive. You can do a lot of things with it. Shad spawn might be going on at Lake Eufaula, but I will for sure 100% have a Zoom Super Fluke on the deck of the boat every single day at Murray. And I won't just have one, I might have 2 rods or 3 rods, and I might have a double fluke rig, a donkey rig, and I'll do a video on that coming up. But I went ahead and bought, 8 or 10 packs of white pearl Zoom Super Flukes. These again, they're not gonna go bad. They can go on a peg hook or in my drawer that I keep in the barn with plastics, with flukes. It's a color I'm gonna use every single year, and it's a default color. It makes for a great chatterbait trailer, and it's just a bait that everybody needs to have in their arsenal. All right, so we have another option for the Zoom Super Fluke, and I think I've got 4 or 5 bags of this color also. It is called Silver Rainbow, and it is actually like the pearl one, but it has kind of a rainbowy glitter to it, has a different sparkle to it. If I throw a double fluke rig, sometimes I like mixing them up, having 2 different colors, even though they might be similar. Just like when I'm throwing an A-rig, I want to throw multiple color swim baits on that A-rig because I think fish are going to be able to target in on one individual bait, and that one color difference might be the one they target in on. It's kind of like whenever you're shooting ducks or doves. It's easier to shoot one as opposed to if there's 10 flying by, they're able to target on one. So if I'm creating a target that's different instead of just this mass of the same color, it might make it where they're able to hone in on it a little bit more. So I've got multiple packs of this Silver Rainbow, and again, it works pretty much everywhere in the country, especially in clear water. I can't say, yes, throw this color over the white pearl one, the sun's shining, it's cloudy, whatever. I could tell you a line of malarkey, but, it's take whichever one you think is going to work for you and what you have confidence in. And there's a bunch of other shad patterns that you can get, but for me, those are the 2 main shad pattern colored ones that I buy. All right, next up, I got a pack of black Gtail worms. And it's basically a big curl tail worm by Zoom. I've actually never bought a pack of these, but before the off limits, for information, I've got a buddy that told me, hey, I need to get a pack of these for one of the lakes on tour. And so I bought a pack just to try. And more than likely what I end up doing with something like this, that you buy one to try out, is it just sits in your tackle room and you end up not using it. You use what you end up having confidence anyway. But if I get a wild hair in practice, I will throw that. If not, I know I can use it at Rayburn on a guide trip, throw it in a brush pile, whatever, because a lot of times color really doesn't matter. This worm looks like you could swim it pretty good, so if I'm down there at Okeechobee or something, it might be a swim worm type of deal. So either way, it's kind of one of those random things I bought from hearsay. All right, next thing up is a pack of ZMan Elastec long shots in the color Meat Dog. And I've been playing around with these worms right here. They're kind of like a finesse worm, but it's that Elastec material. I know that drop shotting is going to be a deal here. This has got kind of like a shad pattern. It's got a blue iridescent with kind of a green pumpkin back. But, I throw the color of the deal quite a bit, and this has got more of a purple hue to it. And again, I think they'll eat it. I think I can throw it on a shaky head or even put it on a Ned head with a smaller lightweight and have something really finesse to crawl over some rocks. I know that's going to be kind of a deal if the fish are finicky, after a shad spawn deal, or a herring spawn, if they're sitting around on rocks. Casey Ashley won an Elite Series event throwing a shaky head. Again, this is going to be one of those products that, you know, might have to finesse them a little bit, might be good. If not, again, I'll use it on a guide trip, put it on a Carolina rig, put it on a drop shot at Rayburn. The Elastec, it's not going to tear up as easy, so I'm going to be able to make them last, you know, quite a while. And if it doesn't work, then it's just another product I've wasted money on, and yeah, I can either sell it, give it to a high school kid, or just hang it on the wall. Okay, next up, got a bunch of packs of these, and again, this is stocking up. All right, I've got, I don't know, 6-8 bags of Junebug baby brush hogs. That is one of my go-to standards, and it was like, well, let me stock up when I can. I do know that when I went to Potomac River the last time, I caught them on the Junebug baby brush hog, which is kind of a staple where I live. You can go to a gas station almost anywhere and get these. You can go to any sort of tackle store and they're gonna have a Junebug baby brush hog. But when you're in Washington, D.C., and you've run out of the 3 bags you had in Junebug, you go scrambling around. There's not a whole lot of tackle stores. You go to a Dick's, you go to wherever you can find, and the closest color I could find was gooseberry. And again, it's so close. That's kind of a more like a tequila, dark purple, black combination with green flake. So close to the Junebug, but at the same time, when you've been catching them on day 1 on the Junebug and in practice, you want to go with whatever you have confidence in. And yes, I caught them on the other color, but again, this is a staple color wherever I go, and so I'm stocking up because I know I'm gonna need them. All right, another pack of the Rainbow Fluke. All right, here's another stock up deal right here. And this is more for a Rayburn situation. I've got a ton of bags of watermelon candy baby brush hogs. This is one of my absolute go-tos for Carolina rigging on Sam Rayburn. You know, 2 years ago, I remember I was booked for like 5 days, 1 week in October, and I went through like 26 bags of these in 1 week on guide trips. Yes, they will probably eat whatever. You know, this one's watermelon candy. They'd eat watermelon red. They'd eat watermelon candy red, green pumpkin, whatever. But watermelon candy is just kind of a do-all that covers all that spectrum of watermelon. If I can only pick one, that's the one I throw, because it's real subtle with a flake. It's not real heavy, so it kind of gives me a little variation, you know, whether I'm Carolina rigging or flipping this bait, you know, in clear water. You know, that is one of my absolute go-tos. So again, I'm stocking up. I go through a ton of packs of these on guide trips, so I needed more of them while the availability was there. All right, next on the list, and again, I've got a ton of packs of these because I go through a lot of them. I think I've got 8 or 10 packs of these, and again, it is a watermelon candy Super Fluke. And if I had 3 rods to go fish Rayburn at any given time, I'm going to have probably a watermelon Super Fluke tied on. It's a very versatile bait. I can throw it weightless, shallow. I Carolina rig it a lot. I know a lot of people that throw this on a Carolina rig in Texas. It's a Texas-Louisiana deal. Seems like, you know, Florida is another place that people throw a lot of watermelon flukes. And on a national level beyond that, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But in Texas, whether you're going to Lake Fork, Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, Amistad, Falcon, wherever, they eat a watermelon fluke. And I am absolutely stocking up. And I will have this tied on the deck of the boat in the Toyota series. Has more to do with exactly where you're throwing it, but that is an absolute confidence bait. I don't care about dipping the tail in chartreuse. I can. I don't think it makes a difference on getting bites, but it is one of those baits that I will always have either in the rod locker or on the deck of the boat when I'm at Sam Rayburn. All right, it's more packs of watermelon candy baby brush hogs. Some more packs of the same. All right, here's kind of an oddball bait right here. It is the ZCrawl Worm by Zoom. And I thought this bait was hokey and goofy whenever it first came out. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna buy that. You know, it doesn't make sense. You can see it's almost got like a ZCrawl tail on it. You can see it's kind of like a Zoom Magnum trick worm with a ZCrawl tail. And I'll be honest with you, I got my butt handed to me by a co-angler at Lake Louisville Fishing Docks in the Bassmaster Open last year. and he was flipping this worm behind me when I was skipping a Cinco and throwing a Ned rig around boat docks, and he had 3 very solid bites on the exact same places I threw those other go-to baits that I catch thousands of fish off of, throwing this ZCrawl Worm. And they haven't really been in stock, so I'm stocking up a few of them. I have not thrown this on a brush pile or Texas rigged it much. I haven't even fished the bait at all. But this year, I'm going to throw it some in brush and other places just to try it. It's a bait that I don't think people are throwing that much at Rayburn. But again, the only reason I bought it is because I had a co-angler whoop me out of the back of the boat, making the same cast with my tried and true green pumpkin, Cincos, the deal Ned rigs, stuff like that. And he caught them behind me throwing that ZCrawl Worm. And you can't go wrong with plum, on pretty much any lake in the summer, especially in the south. And so I got 2 packs of those. Because if you're going to try something, get a color that you're going to give it an honest try for success. Again, another pack of Junebug baby brush hogs, another 8XD in the shizzle. All right, I got 2 packs of hooks, running low right now on these Zoom heavy cover worm hooks. There's a lot of straight shank hooks out there. These have a keeper system on it. That's actually an older style one. You can see how it's wrapped all the way up to the little barb on the top. And this is the new style one, which is almost got like a metal keeper. I honestly have not used the one with the metal keeper yet. I've only used the ones with the black wraps, and eventually the black wrap runs down. I don't know if there's going to be a difference, if they've changed the hook at all. I made the order, you didn't get to select. They might be getting rid of old stock. This is the new stock, but they're both in 3/0. I know I've got some of these, but I go through a lot of these. This is a hook that I use a lot when I'm sight fishing to rig up certain baits for flipping. It's not a heavy line hook, like for braided line. You can bend it out a little bit on a hard hook set, but I'm primarily throwing it on fluorocarbon, and I've got specific things I rig this with. I play around with snell knotting it, but I'm starting to lean back towards going back to just using a Palomar, depending on what I'm doing. But again, that's that Gamakatsu heavy cover worm hook. Okay, 2 baits I got specifically for Lake Murray. Okay, this is the Ima Skimmer Grande 125. I got a bone and I got a chrome. And anybody that fishes blueback herring lakes will tell you any of these types of baits, pencil poppers, these big walking baits and stuff like that, these are the deal. Chrome is one of the only colors you need, and some sort of bone or white really are the only colors. And you work these fast and aggressive, trying to trigger fish and call them up, whether it's over cane piles or on points and stuff for herring spawns. It's a herring imitator, and I bought a couple more of these because in the Forest Wood Cup several years ago, the one that Justin Adkins won, I threw this on day 2 and had like 16 pounds of 4 fish and lost some donkeys. So that's why I got this bait. I got a couple more of them just to have them ready to go. If that bite's happening, I will have one of these tied on the deck of my boat for this event. Whether or not I throw it, we'll see, but I will have one tied on, at least in practice. All right. Here's a crankbait right here that was just recently reintroduced. It is the 6 Cents 500 Crush. I don't like all the 6 Cents baits, but the ones I do like are really good. Okay, and this one is in, surprisingly, chartreuse and blue. And I've got 4 of them right here. And this is one of my go-tos at Rayburn when I'm cranking. I think I've caught more fish over 8 pounds with this crankbait at Rayburn than any other. And so it's one of those baits that kind of has that middle ground between a 10XD and an 8XD. It doesn't pull too bad. They discontinued this bait for a while and brought it back. They changed around and went to the Cloud series, but they've brought this 500 Crush back. I've called KC before, who owns 6 Cents. I've talked to stores. In fact, I got a smoking deal on a bunch of them, but when they got discontinued, I went looking for them all over the internet and bought every one of them I could find. And you can see I've got rows of them up there. And granted, I don't have everything on the pegboard here, but I've got absolute rows of them that I got a really good deal on, but I'd buy one here and there. They're actually cheaper now retail than they were when they were initially in production, but I've got some more there. I don't have any chartreuse and blue up here because, again, that bait was kind of more of an East Texas thing. Maybe some ledge guys on TVA lakes, you know, had a following for it, but in East Texas, that was kind of a big deal for a while. And in fact, I was buddies with a guy that was hand painting them with an airbrush for Casey for a long time when they first came out and prototyped them. But, you know, the availability wasn't there, but chartreuse and blue is like an East Texas staple, so I got a bunch of those. All right, the last thing in the box is a reel. You know, I don't have a reel sponsorship. It's all good. I want to buy what I think is great. I am a big fan of Daiwa reels and Shimano reels. People ask me all the time who makes the best reels. I personally think those are the ones that I throw and I buy. I buy or trade, you know. But Daiwa reels have always been good. I like the Tattoola series. And again, I have multiple Shimano reels as well, but these Daiwa Tattoolas are really good, and they seem to be pretty much bulletproof for the amount of trashing I go through them. And this particular one is a Tattoola 300, which is a newer one they've got. It's a big reel, and this reel is made for swim baits. And I needed another big reel for swim baits. I've got a Shimano right now that's a bigger reel for. I've got a Shimano 300 that I use for swim baiting, but this is a really big reel with a deep spool. It'll hold a lot of line, a lot of heavy line. So if I'm putting 20-pound fluorocarbon or 25-pound fluorocarbon, you know, I'm able to make a long cast, which is paramount whenever you're throwing a lot of swim baits in clear water. It's got a big handle, so I'm able to make it jerky, like if I'm working a glide bait, to make it work back and forth, because a lot of times you do little quick stops. But it's smooth, I can handle it. You know, they say the gearing on it's great. I'm on a bunch of these swim bait forums on Facebook, and you know, people have talked about this reel and how great it is. So I said, you know what, I need another swim bait reel. So I went ahead and bought it, and you know, I'm looking forward to using it because I am going to have multiple swim baits tied on when I go to Lake Murray and other events coming up. And when I do part 2 of this video, you're going to see some of the swim baits that I'm actually throwing, because that's also what's in the box.